Hello and welcome to the self-care sessions. This week we are talking all things natural deodorants with Tonya, who is founder of our favourite natural deodorant, Cacao Pow Deo Bar. We're going to talk about natural deodorants in general, why we love them, how you can switch to a natural deodorant, and then we're going to demonstrate the different ways that you can use and apply the Cacao Pow Deo Bar. So hi Tonya.
Hello, hi.
So we'll just start talking generally about natural deodorants. What's the difference between a natural deodorant and maybe a more mainstream or conventional deodorant that people might be used to?
Okay, so with the mainstream conventional deodorants, they're antiperspirants, so they stop you sweating, and they do that by using aluminium salts. Whereas natural deodorants tend to use, on the whole, they use minerals as a way of neutralizing the bacteria. So they might use magnesium oxide or bicarbonate of soda instead. So obviously you will naturally perspire. It won't stop you sweating necessarily. Some of them do have some absorption powders in there as well, like arrowroot. Our particular product doesn't have the arrowroot though. Some people would be quite sensitive to that, so that's something we've left out of this particular formula.
That's the thing, when you switch to a natural deodorant, there's some that are quite sort of heavily fragranced, maybe with some essential oils, and on the delicate kind of underarm area, some people find it difficult to switch because they maybe have a reaction or they're not quite used to those kind of fragrances, but yours is just really pure, really natural, and it lets your body do what it needs to do, but without the kind of, maybe smell or excess moisture that you might experience with other natural deodorants. And just to go back to conventional deodorant, so you mentioned the aluminium there.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of articles maybe about the health. It's not particularly great to use an aluminium deodorant. Why is that, Tonya?
Well, obviously it's a heavy metal. I mean, the reason I developed the product was because 10 years ago I actually became chronically ill. I got a condition called fibromyalgia, and I actually did some hair tissue mineral analysis testing, which is where they test the tissue of your hair, and I sent it off to a lab in America where they don't wash the samples, and I actually had a lot of the heavy metals show up in my hair, a lot more than I should have had, and that was the start of my healing journey. So I actually looked at ways I could reduce aluminium, and switching to an aluminium-free deodorant was one of those. But my body had already started reacting, ironically. I'd already started to develop patches of eczema underneath my arms every time I used an aluminium-based deodorant. Other problems with obviously using a heavy metal that doesn't belong in the body. It's got absolutely no need to be in the body. Your body doesn't use that heavy metal, so it will cause oxidative stress in the cells, and oxidative stress ultimately leads, or is a cause of chronic illness. So it was just about cleaning up my life, really. So it was about eradicating any excess oxidative stress in my life and in my my personal care routines as well.
And I guess in the underarm area, like that's full of pores, and glands, it's very easy for things to kind of enter the body in that area, isn't it? So it's kind of a good idea if you're either seeing those reactions or you think you might want to move away from absorbing the metal, then to switch to a natural deodorant. When we're thinking of switching, what sort of things do we need to take into account? Can we just switch from day one, or do you have any tips for how you can make that transition?
There's lots of theories. I mean, there's a lot of companies, they do talk about a transition period and the fact that you need to detox. I think really it's about understanding that obviously the application is going to be quite different. It's not a spray, it's not a traditional roll-on where you sort of put it on and you wait for it to dry. A lot of the natural products, you do have some natural products that obviously you put on and wait to dry, things like crystals, for instance, natural aluminium based crystals, or you've got other products that are more like a traditional roll-on that you sort of roll on and wait for it to dry, but you also have creams as well. So I think it's just finding the right product for you. We produce something that acts very much like a moisturizer. So you apply it like a moisturizer, and it's just really nourishing for the skin. It's very gentle, it's very moisturizing, but it's also very powerful as well in terms of antibacterial control. So
yeah,
it's understanding really how, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fantastic product, and I tried lots and lots of natural deodorants in my time, and I've stuck with this one. It's absolutely superb.
Oh,
Let's go through how we can apply it. So I've got one here.
okay.
Tell us about, you know, the ingredients in it.
Zinc oxide. We've got also we've got an organic cacao butter. All of the cacao butter is organic. 100% of the cacao butter is organic. It's from the it's the Organic Food Federation. It's been the certification, sorry, comes from the Organic Food Federation. And that's it. It's just a really, really simple formula, just 3 ingredients. Like we mentioned earlier, I'm super sensitive to essential oils, so I only have to have a drop in the nearest vicinity to me, and whatever properties that particular essential oil has, I'm overwhelmed by the effects of that. I think as well, some people might find the essential oils can be quite irritable as well in some cases, and they've, you know, you have lots of things in them that could be challenging for some people as well.
Yeah, so good for then sensitive skin types.
I've really simplified it. I've just cut as much of the, you know, the things that are unnecessary out of that as I could, and kept it a really, really simple, effective formula.
Okay, so if we want to give it a go, how are we going to apply it? It comes in this.
Okay. Yes.
Jar.
Yeah. So there's mine. And the jar is completely plastic free as well. So I've got one here that I've actually opened. So if you just take it out of the jar, it comes in a little bit of paper. You don't need to keep it in the paper, but you do. I would recommend that you do keep it in the jar. Once the jar's been opened, it does have to be used within 6 months. It's got a period after opening of 6 months. So any product, you'll see a little icon where it has 3, 6, or 12 months, and this is 6 months. So if you've not managed to get through it in 6 months, then we'd say just dispose of whatever's left and then purchase a new one. Okay. In terms of application, so store it in the jar when you're not using it. Make sure that you're nice and dry when you put it on. The best time to apply it is actually when you get out of the shower, when you're nice and warm. Some people might have a slightly lower body temperature. In those cases, what I recommend perhaps is you can either hold it underneath your arm and then count to 10, and you'll feel it actually. It will start to go. It's like melting chocolate. It's like if you're holding melted chocolate, you know, a bar of chocolate on a hot day. Eventually it just starts to sort of, you know, flow on the surface. So hold it under your arm, count to 10, and it will start to flow. The thing that I do, I don't know if you do this, but I always do it in a circle on the palm of my hand. So usually around about 20 rotations, it will start to. It does take a little while. Once it starts to go, though, it does, and it starts off quite a sticky sort of paste, but then it starts to go really smooth, and then so I'd say no more than 20 rotations. Is yours going?
Yeah, no. You can start.
See, I've got quite a low body temperature actually. I sweat a lot, but I actually have a really low body temperature. So that's starting to go now. So you can see you've got quite a lot of product on the edges, and if you just take that off of the edges, and then it's like so it's like a very fluffy, should be quite a fluffy paste.
Yeah, it is. It's almost like an icing, like a creamy.
Yeah. Yes. And then you just smooth that into your armpit area until it's completely smoothed into the surface of the skin. You don't want to leave anything on the surface. You want to make sure that you've smoothed it completely into the skin.
And so we did 20 circles, so almost like translucent kind of cream on the hand. Is that for one arm, and would you do the same?
Yeah, I tend to. Yeah, so in a bar you have 55, a small bar, you have 55 1-gram applications, and it's quite a lot actually. So I would say cover the palm of your hand, that will do one arm, and then switch hands and do it on the other hand. And then you could make that stretch between 2. Generally speaking, the 55-gram bar will last 55 days, but we've recommend that you try seeing how long you can go without reapplying it, because it carries on working even after showering. So yeah, and I'd probably say at this time of year I apply it probably every other day. During a heat wave I might apply it every day, but during winter probably every third day.
Yeah.
So
maybe if we're doing sport, if
yeah,
we're active, maybe treat it during summer. And so you're looking at maybe three months for the small jar, which I've got here, the 55.
Yeah, so a couple, I'd say 2 to 4 months. So if you're applying it every other day, it will last you the 4-month period. But if you're a heavy user, then I'll probably say 2 months. Yeah, just under 2 months. So
perfect. And I guess some common questions that people think of when it comes to deodorants, like, am I going to get white marks on clothes? Will it show if I don't let it sink in? Like, how does it stack up versus a conventional?
I think, I mean, common sense. I think if you've left some of the products on the surface of the skin, then obviously that will transfer onto your clothes. So it's very much like when you apply a moisturizer. If you don't smooth the moisturizer into the surface of the skin, and then you want to put on a top, you might get some of the residue on the top. So just make sure that you smooth it into the surface of the skin, and the surface of the skin is nice and clean of the product. Shouldn't have any sort of gathering in any of the folds of the skin. You want to make sure that it's completely smoothed in. Another little tip that you can do, which sometimes I like to do, is you can apply it before you go to bed and then wash it off in the morning, and then you've got completely bare armpits. It will carry on working, so that's a really nice tip as well.
Oh, that's a really
if you want that sort of,
that's
yeah.
I do the holding with mine, so I hold it after I've got out the shower. I let it wash, and then I do a few rotations on each side. And by the time I've put my moisturizer on, got changed, it's come out of the bathroom, it's good to go. So I think one of the things that people feel maybe about natural deodorants is because, like you said, there's not that roll on or there's not that spray. It can be more faffy or take more time, but actually this is really simple to put into your normal everyday routine. It's not really, I think in people's psyche as well. They have this feeling that they need to have something on the surface of the skin, like they need to visibly see something like a spray where you've sprayed something on, or something you've rolled on, that it feels like you've got something physically sitting on the surface of the skin, whereas this is something that works inside the skin almost. It's you're smoothing it completely into the skin, because it's such a healthy product, because it's bicarbonate soda, which is very alkalizing to the body. It's not going to do you any harm at all to get that worked into those lymph nodes and your armpits. So it's just getting used to the concept that it's more like a moisturizer that deodorizes, as opposed to something that sits on the surface of the skin that you see that protects. Yeah, and it's not going to prevent you from sweating, but actually,
no, definitely not.
Personal experience over time, I have noticed that by just not using a mainstream deodorant, I'm not as sweaty as I used to be. I think.
Yeah, I do hear that a lot, actually. That's a lot of people report back that it probably over time it does make them sweat a lot more, actually, using an aluminium-based deodorant. So
and so how did you come up with this formulation? Because like you said, it's quite different. It's not a paste and it's not a crystal roll-on. It's really unique. So what made you think of that for yourself?
So I adapted a standard recipe that I'd located online, but a lot of them, they use coconut oil. And what I found at some of the first tests that I did with friends and family, the coconut oil was actually pulling dye out of people's clothes. So, I mean, my husband at the time, he was working for a clothing company, and you get a lot of, really nice clothes, raw denim clothes. And he, by the end of the day, he would have literally dye coming out of the product from coconut oil based products, so we knew that that wasn't going to work for us. So I looked at different oils and different formulations and tweaking it, and this is when I arrived at the cacao butter, and it smelled so amazing as well. I mean, the aromatics of the chocolate, it's, you know, second to none. So, and it meant that I didn't need to add any, you know, essential oils to that as well. So it was a win-win really from that perspective.
It does smell almost good enough to eat, but you definitely
Yes.
put it on your armpits.
All
Day long. Thank you so much for that, Tonya. That was really, really interesting. If you want to discover the deodorant, you can do so over at our website. Just type in Cacao Pow Deo and there will be the 2 size options there. And if you've not bought from us before, you can get a 10% discount off your first order with the code LOVEBLOMMA.